The Nightbeat starts right now.
I know it'll be a while. We know how that stuff goes. But we have so many questions and we want answers.
1 month since the Uvalde school shooting, and families are left without answers. Tonight, the attempt to try and move forward while refusing to forget the past. But first, we begin tonight with a country divided. There's concern and there are also celebrations over the Supreme Court's decision on abortion. Here in San Antonio, protests popped up.
Yeah, the ruling turns back Roe versus Wade, which stood for nearly 50 years. Many, including doctors who specialize in women's health, are making their voices heard tonight. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists call abortion essential to health care. Their words: in the U.S., they say about 1/4 of women access abortion care in their lifetime. They also note some women face health risks associated with pregnancy and childbirth. Doctors say women of color face a higher rate of death during childbirth.
These dangers will fall disproportionately on Black women who are already more likely to die in Texas during childbirth than white women. And for Hispanic women, the maternal mortality rate doubled between 2018 and 2020.
The Guttmacher Institute also researches reproductive health. Now, keeping in mind that 1 in 4 women receive abortion care, their research shows that a majority of those women earn less than $25,760 a year and are in their 20s. They also say that 59% of women who get an abortion have at least one child. They also show that abortion happens among women who say they're religious. 24% of them identified as Catholic. With more barriers now expected for women, more than 500 people took to the streets of San Antonio today to protest. They chanted with signs outside of the downtown federal courthouse. The Night Team's Patty Santos was there and tells us why they say this is just the beginning of their march for change ahead.
Well, this is a day of, to me, mourning. I mean, we lost our rights. My daughter lost her rights.
Several local organizations turned out to protest the Supreme Court's decision, all people who say they cannot sit back silently as history unfolds.
It hits me especially hard, like knowing that I have all these women in my life and they're being hurt by this.
There's a lot of us very, very scared right now.
Texas doctors say this ruling will hurt women whose lives are at risk unless they terminate their pregnancy.
People who are recently diagnosed with serious diseases such as cancer, while in the early stages of pregnancy, should also be free to get an abortion. There's also severe preeclampsia, lethal birth defects, and catastrophic medical complications that are reasons that other women undergo an abortion.
Bottom line, they say this will affect women who are low income, minority, and live in rural communities the most. Doctors say these are women who must act now to protect their bodies.
See their doctor, get on birth control, get on long-acting birth control, like an IUD, while it's still, available, and talk to your doctor about risks.
There's a lot of anger and frustration in this crowd, but there's also a lot of motivation for the battle ahead.
Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets?
Marching and voting is just the beginning.
Continue to vote 100%, but I mean, at this point, I don't really know. I don't want to say that it's hopeless, and that's exactly why we're here. That's why I brought them here, because I don't want them to give up, because I'm not giving up. No one should. So, I mean, at this point, we just keep fighting.
The mayor and district attorney Joe Gonzalez were at tonight's rally, and Gonzalez saying he does not plan to prosecute women who seek abortions. On the other side, however, his Republican opponent Mark LaHood said he will enforce every law that is on the book. Stefania.
All right, so what can Texas expect after today's ruling? Well, right now, women who are 6 weeks pregnant can face a civil lawsuit if they obtain an abortion in Texas. There's no exception for rape or incest, and those restrictions will become even tighter. Today's Supreme Court ruling set a trigger law that's set to go into effect in 30 days. And after that time period, abortions would only be allowed in 2 cases. Those exceptions would be made if a patient's life is in danger or if they're at risk of substantial impairment of a major bodily function. Now, the Supreme Court ruling means that other states will be able to decide how they will handle abortion. States that you see here in red, like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, are expected to ban abortions because of trigger laws. Other states that you see in green will most likely continue to allow access to abortions. And if that holds true, The closest state to Texas that allows for abortion access is New Mexico.
There is another side from today's high court ruling. The San Antonio Coalition for Life says they've been working for 15 years to end abortion. Kathy Nix is the executive director for the pro-life group. She says the plan is to now help equip what she calls pregnancy care centers. Those centers offer health screenings, STD tests, and more information.
The funding for those centers, the diapers and all of the formula and everything that a woman needs to help with her pregnancy is going to be the things that we're going to be focusing on.
Nick says their goal is to also provide alternatives for women like adoption. And speaking of adoption, we actually took a look at adoptions in Texas last week, and the numbers show fewer children are actually being adopted in our state. The graph next to me shows the numbers have been on the decline since 2019. The stigma that comes with women who give up their children to adoption continues. So much so that one adoption consultant told us there was another concern about this ruling.
I am concerned that we're going to see a vast increase in the number of child abuse and neglect cases because women who cannot end a pregnancy may not have the strength and the courage and the integrity to approach the adoption process.
Elizabeth Jurenovich with the Brasso Adoption Associates says lawmakers need to step in and provide support services for adoption. When it comes to foster care in Texas, state lawmakers have called that a broken system. Back in April, Bexar County District Judge Rosie Speedlin Gonzalez called it a crisis. She explained there weren't enough resources and state employees were overworked and undertrained for these cases.
Meantime, President Joe Biden says that his administration is doing two things to protect women after today's ruling. He says that the Attorney General is making it very clear that women can travel between states for whatever reason they want. And if a state or a local official were to interfere, Biden says that his administration would, quote, fight that deeply un-American attack, end quote. President Biden also directed the health secretary to protect women's access to things like contraception. Now, when it comes to restoring the protection of Roe versus Wade, he says that's up to voters. They have to choose their lawmakers in Congress to create that federal law.
No executive action from the president can do that. And if Congress, as it appears, lacks the votes to do that now, voters need to make their voices heard.
There is controversy from some of the justices' decisions. Today, Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine called out Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, saying that their votes differ from what they expressed during their Supreme Court nomination hearings.
And political analysts say today's decision all came down to privacy. At least some of them do. Out of the Roe decision, there were two other cases that could come into play, including marriage equality. Since Roe versus Wade was overturned, there's concern that same-sex marriage and contraception could be revisited by the Supreme Court. Justice Samuel Alito has said today's decision would not impact factors outside of abortion. But UTSA Professor John Taylor had this to say.
To be honest, Justice Alito can say all he wants, but if you read through the decision, it's a long opinion, 200 plus pages. It seems more evident than not that those issues of same-sex marriage and of contraception among others are on the table.
And there are also some questions about how this could impact voters in November and in the race for Texas governor, or will it have an impact? As concerns grow for potential ripple effects, you'll see more stories on KSAT social media pages and on KSAT.com. Right now, you can watch our entire KSAT Q&A with political science expert, political science professor John Taylor. Just click on this article.
Now switching gears now to another big story tonight. It was exactly 1 month ago today that we lost 21 innocent lives at Robb Elementary.
Since then, the city of Uvalde has been left with questions, and many continue to push for accountability and changes in legislation. The latest gun measure heading to the president's desk. The White House says he will sign it tomorrow morning. The measure would bolster mental health programs, toughen background checks for the youngest gun buyers, keep firearms from domestic violence offenders, and help states enforce existing red flag laws. Now, keep in mind, Texas doesn't have a red flag law. That measure also doesn't raise the age requirement to buy assault-style weapons.
Of course, while time has passed, it's really not getting easier for the victims' families who are still dealing with all of this loss.
I want people to know that she would have made a difference in this world. It's not just us that lost something. The world lost her.
And we sat down with Lexi Rubio's parents, and they're grieving, of course, but trying to keep it together for their 5 other kids. They also want to know more about exactly what happened on May 24th.
Remember their names. Through heartache, the community of Uvalde trying to hold on to some sense of normalcy. Today it held a graduation ceremony for high school seniors.
Tonight, team's John Paul Barajas has the story.
A month ago, we thought it was going to happen that Friday. So we've been through so much. It's an emotional evening for us, but we're so proud of these kids.
Families overwhelmed by emotion filed into the stands at Uvalde's high school graduation. Tonight, their students are walking the stage, a rite of passage that was stolen from many of the victims at Robb Elementary. All 19 students and 2 teachers honored at the ceremony.
We will always remember the victims and the wounded of Robb Elementary.
Less than 3 miles away, the memorial site continues to grow.
Keep their memories alive, keep their stories alive. We don't want them to be forgotten. We're going to keep continuing to share their memories in honor of their families.
On May 24th, the school was swarmed by law enforcement and surrounded by parents trying to get to their kids.
Now it's surrounded by flowers that over time have started to turn brown and wilt, along with other things like photos and mementos that have taken a beating from the weather. That's why San Antonio nonprofit Social Donations made these plaques with the victims' names, pictures, and even words from their obituaries to give the community here a more permanent and weather-resilient addition to the memorial.
Each one of them had a beautiful life, had beautiful memories, families.
Vanessa Rodriguez with the nonprofit explained the support is helping Uvalde residents heal. She says it's important not to forget what happened, but also to continue living life. These seniors have faced a tragedy and are now looking towards a hopeful future.
After it happened, the tragedy, he wasn't going to walk, but he decided he wanted to do. He's just ready to get it done and go on to Texas Tech University.
John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
Still ahead on the Nightbeat, it's a reality that many of us are thinking after Uvalde. What should you do in an active shooter situation? We'll discuss the seminars that are being offered to you, the public. It's next on the Nightbeat.
If they come in the room and it's an active shooter, they have one thing in mind: kill everybody in the room they possibly can, or everybody in the building.
It is a reality we all have to be aware of as we go out into public places these days. What would you do, or how would you react in an active shooter situation?
Unfortunate that we have to ask that question, but local law enforcement and businesses are training people to make quick decisions that can save their lives. The Night Team's Patty Santos tells us that there are several opportunities this weekend to practice this life-saving skill.
This FBI public service announcement teaches people to run, hide, or fight at the sound of gunshots.
Okay, gunfire. Get low, look, find out where it's at. Which way do I need to move, okay? Now, hide, where? Where's a good place for concealment or cover? Fight, what do I need to do? Where's my improvised weapons? Where's the gunman gonna come in the door?
Pete Hardy is a self-defense instructor. He owns STW Krav Maga and Hardy Fitness Gym. Hardy says waiting for law enforcement to come is not an option because seconds means life or death.
First responders are the people in the room. It has to be trained that way.
The gym's hosting an active shooter seminar this Saturday to encourage that survival instinct in anyone 12 years and up. It'll focus on how to stop a shooter and disarm them.
Nobody's ever told people how or shown people how to fight with a person that has a handgun or a long gun when you know you got to fight. I'm not going to get in a fist fight with them.
It's all your fault. I got
Police say people should also know what to expect when law enforcement arrive. San Antonio Police gave the Citizens Police Academy a glimpse of its active shooter training earlier this week.
They're able to begin taking a lot of this information and can help guide and direct how citizens can provide support not only to themselves but to the officers of our department if we were ever have to respond for any incidents.
The active shooter seminar is this Saturday from 11 to 1. A quick stop the bleed class is also going to be a part of this. And Schertz Police is also hosting a civilian active shooter event from 9 to 12 this Saturday. We have information on both of these events on KSAT.com. Patty Santos, KSAT 12 News.
101, the high temperature today. That marks our 20th 100-degree day so far this year. And we'll continue to tally them up as we go into the upcoming weekend. But there will be some noticeable changes into next week. So if you're sick of this 100-degree heat, there will be some minor changes next week. And you'll notice them. Take a look at our temperature forecast here. 101 again tomorrow. And even triple digits 100 on Sunday. Then Monday down into the mid-90s. Tuesday about 87. I think we could get down into the 80s on Tuesday. And with that would be our best chance of rain. So let's talk about the weather setup. Upper level high pressure system, Big Blue H, it's been pressing down on us. And we're too close to the center of it to really generate even any clouds to develop. All the activities around the edges of it are on the periphery. Severe weather, the Dakotas, northern Minnesota, into southern Canada. That tells you something right there. However, that upper high is going to break down, and by Monday, it's going to open the door for a weak front and a little bit of energy to move in. So by Monday, about a 30% chance. So later in the day, afternoon and evening, a few widely separated showers and storms, and then slightly better coverage up to 40% on Tuesday. Wednesday, again, 30%. It's the best chances we've seen in a while. I know it's not perfect. It's not the best. Not everybody's going to get it, but at least we are expecting some areas of rain and even some downpours on Tuesday. Of course, we could use the rain. Medina Lake, 14% full. That's 63 feet below the conservation pool. Canyon Lake, 3 feet below the conservation pool. 90 right now. Dew points on the rise again, with that stout southeasterly breeze at 22 miles per hour. 91 in Uvalde, 86 Kerrville, Rock Springs at 84. We've got a mixture of 80s and even some lower 90s out there. Hondo 91, Seguin and Gonzales meanwhile at 85. Tomorrow afternoon, this is what we're expecting. Just above 100. Port SA, Stinson 102, Hondo 102. Get into the hill country, upper 90s. And pretty much a carbon copy on Sunday, right near 100. Nothing but sunshine throughout the weekend. But those rain chances go up a bit as temperatures slide down below 100 all next week. How about that, huh?
We'll take
Noticeable.
it. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so we were the only local station in New York City. And Larry got to interview each of the draft picks one-on-one.
And keep in mind, they're 19 years old. So they were born the year the Spurs were winning their second NBA championship in 2003. So the future of the team was being built that year, if you get the drift. When we come back, you'll meet the draft picks. And also, is he a coach in waiting? Oh, who could that be coming up?
We don't want to gamble on the character, and we don't want to gamble on the things that we identified as important to our organization and how we grow. And so with these three guys, we don't think we did that at all.
All right, Spurs general manager Brian Wright is confident the team picked up three great young talents with great character last night in the 2022 NBA draft in Big Board Sports. There are three new members of the San Antonio Spurs thanks to the NBA draft last night. One of them is even being called a steal. It's all the product of hard work of general manager Brian Wright and his staff, who's decided to keep all of their picks and not trade up with one or two of them. All three of the picks are just 19 years old, and then Wright selected Kennedy Chandler with the 38th pick overall in the second round. That was probably traded to Memphis for a future second round in cash. All in a nice work for Wright.
We approach every draft trying to find the best available talent. And we walked away from this one feeling really good about what we ended up with. We don't spill the whole board, but, we had all three guys with draft grades inside of 20. So to be able to get all three of them with our three picks in the first round, we're really excited about that.
Here you go, Pop. Here's Jeremy.
Hello, Coach. How we doing? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, that's the Spurs' number one pick being congratulated by his new head coach, Greg Popovich, immediately after the Spurs made Jeremy Sohan the 9th overall pick at the NBA draft last night. Their highest pick since making Tim Duncan number one back in 1997. A celebrated defender in his freshman year at Baylor with a 7-foot wingspan that will fit right into the Spurs' game plan. He will need some work on his offensive game that had him averaging 9.2 points, 6.4 rebounds per game in 30 games he played for the Bears, starting only one. That's why he's named the Big 12 Sixth Man of the Year. And the Spurs fans will be familiar with this. Like his suit that made him stand out at the draft, he also likes to dye his hair. What's the first thing he's going to buy with an NBA paycheck? And who is he most excited to play against?
First thing I'm going to buy is a driving license and then a car. And I'm looking forward to play everyone. I can't wait to, play every day and just work and compete.
All right, next to the number 20 overall pick, the Spurs scooped up Ohio State wingman Malachi Branham. Some of him calling the steal of the draft. The Spurs even were surprised he slid all the way down to 20. And like Sohan, only played for one season for the Buckeyes, averaging 13.7 points a game while shooting almost 50%. And like Sohan, he's only 19 years old. Branham says he's already met his fellow Spurs rookies prior to the draft.
Blake Wesley was in my workout with the Spurs, so I played against him. But also Jeremy Sochan. I feel like those two guys, I built a relationship just throughout this pre-draft process. So it's definitely going to be good. Our relationship's going to be a lot closer for sure.
And finally, with the 25th overall pick, the Spurs went with Notre Dame freshman Blake Wesley, a 6'5" guard that started 28 of the 35 games he played in for the Fighting Irish. San Antonio has a lot of guards on this roster. So is Wesley concerned about spending some time with the Austin Spurs in the G League as he battles for playing time?
If I got to go down G League, they call me to G League, I'm going to be like, okay, let's do it. Let's get more reps up. And I'm going to learn from, the other guys that's there. It's all about learning. I love to learn from other people to make me better. So, yeah, G League's good.
All right, all three are in the Alamo City. Will be introduced in San Antonio tomorrow at 11 a.m. press conference at the AT&T Center. Let the weigh-in begin next.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
When the Dallas Cowboys report for training camp on July 25th in Oxnard, California, no bigger expectations will be placed squarely on the shoulders of head coach Mike McCarthy. He's only 18-15 in the regular season, including 12-5 last year with a healthy Dak Prescott, but was the only home team to lose in the first round of the playoffs. That's why many believe he's on a short leash this season, especially with Sean Payton still out there.
He shouldn't be a conversation piece. Mike has got an opportunity here to win a Super Bowl. And he's got an opportunity to win other Super Bowls. And so that's really the measurement of it. Not just for me, but it's an eternity between right now and this time next year in our game. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. And so that's what I should dwell on. That's the way this game is structured, where our staff is in place for the year. Mike is not only here, but he's in the best position in my mind to lead this team as coach. He is very qualified to win a Super Bowl.
We'll see. The weigh-in for tomorrow's World Championship bout at the new Techport Arena here in San Antonio. That's where San Antonio's own Jesse Bam Rodriguez will put his WBC Super Flyweight title on the line against Circuset Sor Rungvisai from Thailand. The challenger weighed in at 114.6 pounds, as well as a champ. Jesse is 15-0 with 10 KOs. Congratulations to San Antonio Missions. They won tonight up in Wichita, 11-2. That clinches a playoff spot after the first half of the season ends. And at the same time, SAFC beat Colorado Switchbacks, take over first place in the Western Conference 1-0.
And you have been chosen for the SAISD Athletic Hall of Fame.
And very gracious thank you for that.
You bet.
Congratulations again. We'll be right back.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much for spending this entire week with us. We love you for that. Have a great night.